Okay, it's working on connecting now. Hasn't quite connected yet. All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome. Pam Jacobson, your host of Three Things You Need to Know. With me today, special guest, the owner and CEO, Michele Hiebert of Emerge in Be Fitness. She's joining us today to continue the conversation that we started last week about the benefits and the importance of movement and exercise in your life on a daily basis, and your responsibility in making that happen as a part of your health optimization work that we're doing. So for those of you just joining, welcome. We've been discussing now for the last 16 weeks how to be resilient, right? What does it take? Understanding your responsibility. And I would encourage you, if this is your first time with us, you'll get a lot out of the discussion today, everything that you need to know about movement and exercise. But I would encourage you to go back and look at the other videos, because we've laid out the structure for you in terms of how to be resilient. I think it's especially important now. Obviously, the news is not surprising, but also not what we all were hoping to hear as far as the progression of the COVID virus. And so I think more now than ever, it is incumbent upon all of us to do everything we can on a daily basis to optimize our health and secure our resilience. And there's no question that movement being, one of the four pillars. So I've been talking about resilience in terms of four key foundational pillars. We've covered sleep, we've covered stress response management, and last week I gave you the work or the to-do list, if you will, for exercise and movement. And today we're going to talk to Michele and get her input from an exercise physiologist perspective. She's got an amazing bio. I'm going to read that, and then I'm going to kind of turn it over to her. So Michele and I have known each other for a while, and it's always been in the context of health and fitness. That was how we met. And she's always had a real passion for health and fitness. She raced sailboats competitively for most of her life, and continues to enjoy sailing as a recreational sport. She was physically active as a child, and that created a desire in her to pursue a career in the health and fitness industry. She got her master's degree in kinesiology with an emphasis in exercise physiology. And after her graduate school, she became a cardiac therapist, working to help patients who had survived cardiovascular events like heart attacks and strokes and so forth. And during this time, she continued working in primary prevention, in other words, helping people optimize their health through personal training. She worked for a decade or so at the Berkeley Heart Lab, which is a company that is dedicated to individualizing approaches to treatment for patients with cardiovascular disease using advanced lipid testing, which is something that we do today, certainly in functional medicine. And as an educator, she partnered with her patients and their physicians to create personalized plans to address their risk for heart disease. Today, Michele, as I said earlier, is the owner and CEO of a fitness company that is both mobile for those of you who are local here in Southern California, as well as virtual for all of you out there watching that are in other areas of the state or in other states in the country. Michelle's company, Emerge in Be Fitness, works with you in all of those locations, whether it's virtual or mobile, coming to you wherever you find yourself. But she's created this amazing fitness company that is dedicated to helping all of us figure out how to dial in that fitness pillar, if you will. How do we make that part of our daily life, right? And I talked about last week some of the things that you could be doing, but I think Michele is going to really help us kind of begin to dial that in and understand from an expert's perspective, kind of how we might be able to do that. So Michele, welcome. So
Thank you.
privileged and honored to have you on the show. And I just want to kind of turn it over to you and have you maybe expand on that introduction and, kind of take us to, maybe a broader understanding of kind of what your focus is today and what you're doing with your clients in the area of their, fitness and movement.
Yes, thank you, Pam. I'm very excited to be here. As you were saying, I did, as a kid growing up, I was always active, sailing and racing sailboats my life. And I really got this enthusiasm for fitness and helping people to be able to optimize their fitness levels. So when I went to grad school, to get a kinesiology major, because I thought I was going to go into coaching. But then when specializing in exercise physiology, I really realized that the disease process was something I wanted to look further into and try to help clients, people, friends, family, if they did have the disease process, to be able to slow it down or sometimes reverse it. And how do we do this? What we really do is through fitness and through optimizing our health, through making sure that our body is moving. And so after being a cardiac therapist, I first went into cardiac therapist, which is secondary prevention, working with the disease process, disease patients. I just got so frustrated in seeing all the clients just getting worse and worse and worse and not seeing any true interventions into the process to slow it down. And so that's where I wanted to just kind of, I buried off into the primary prevention to say, how can we slow down if we have the markers for heart disease, how can we slow down this process? Or stop it altogether. The disease process really can be looked at like a light switch. It can be turned on or it can be turned off.
Sure.
And, there's several factors that go into turning this off. And that's diet, it's exercise, it's sleep, it's stress response, making sure that you have reducing stress in your life. All these things
all those pillars that we've been discussing for the last 15 weeks prior to today, right? I mean, all of those things are contributors to the development of that disease process, or are contributors to the slowing of the progress and of any kind of disease process, really, not even just cardiovascular, but absolutely.
Right. And so, how could I do this? And so today, I'm really excited about what I'm doing with Emergent Bee. What I've started is a mobile and virtual company. So I'm able to, with this pandemic going on right now, there's so many people that are home. There has been a spike in depression where people just are so, it's hard to handle right now, this way of living. And so I can actually go into these people's, not homes with the pandemic, but I can meet them in parks. I can meet them in their office parking lot. I can meet them wherever they want to meet that's outside, and really help them start with an exercise program. And I also work with clients. They don't necessarily have to have a trainer. I work with clients in understanding what they can do to start an exercise program on their own. There's so many things you can do at home, and that's why I started the virtual piece of it, where people can come in on a Zoom group session that we're having, or we can do a Zoom one-on-one or FaceTime. There's so many different platforms now of how we can do virtual sessions. And I really like to get into these clients and talk to them about what it means to start an exercise program. So there's this misconception out there that everybody thinks that an exercise program is you have to exercise an hour a day, you have to go into a gym, or you have to have all this equipment, you have to have these specialists around you telling you what to do. And they make it so complicated that it paralyzes people. And it just paralyzes your mind, is that it's just too much, I can't do this. And so what I, as an expert in exercise physiology, what I am doing is going out there and working with the public and saying, it's not that complicated. It's not that, it doesn't have to be that regimented. what we've learned is that it doesn't have to be one session for 20, 30, 45 minutes at a time. And we can have continuous movement. We can have short sessions throughout the day that is just as effective as if you did a 45-minute session. So, I have some of my
Good
clients,
studies, right? There's some good studies on that actually.
very good
That,
studies on that.
yeah,
I
show
have some,
that the benefits are similar.
yeah, I have some clients that are behind the desk, behind a computer 8 hours a day. I have them stand up for 2 minutes. Have them set their alarm and stand up every hour for 2 minutes, and give them something to do. And throughout the day, they end up getting 20, 25 minutes of exercise, only 2 minutes at a time. And
Right.
that's fine. It's very effective. So what I try to do, Pam, is really go in and educate the public on how they can start a program, giving whatever limitations they have. Is it time? Is it physical disability? Is it motivation? Whatever that is, I try to work with these people and show that there really are no barriers. The barriers are only in your mind. So how can I help them break down these barriers? I mean, I'm a personal trainer, and I've had 3 spinal fusion. So my back is full of rods and screws and metals. And I have not let it get in my way. I'm very active. Like I said, I'm still a personal trainer, still working with people every day in exercise fitness. So I do I do I kind of change up how I do things? Absolutely. But I can still do most things, and I would be in way more pain. And that's another thing, is how much physical activity helps in actual pain. I work with people with arthritis. I work with people, a lot of my pain dissipates with my physical activity.
Right.
So I have a
And I
bad
think,
back.
yeah, I mean, I think that's an important distinction for the people who are watching, is that what Michelle's talking about here is, because I do think there's some misconceptions about personal training. At least there was for me. I think of it as, oh, this is just something athletes would do to prepare for their competitions. And, this isn't really for me. But I think the point that you're making here is that your focus really is on working with the public, right? People, us ordinary people out there who are not athletes, don't really desire to be athletes. We're not looking to build muscle or, necessarily become competitive, but we're looking for a way to optimize our health, in the midst of disease processes. And I do think there's this misconception that when we've got something going on, let's say we have a cancer diagnosis, or we have an autoimmune disease like RA or multiple sclerosis, or we're older, right? We're older, seniors, maybe in our 70s or 80s, that we can't exercise, or that we shouldn't exercise. And
Right.
I appreciate that you're making that point, that, it's important that you're working specifically with all of us out here who've got our, various mindset limitations, self-limiting beliefs about what we can and can't do. I mean, is it okay for us to be exercising on a daily basis?
Yes, absolutely. Some kind of movement. What it's important for people to understand what movement helps. Movement helps boost your mood. It helps sharpen your focus. It reduces stress. It builds relationships with others. It helps you um, um, relate to people in the world. It helps rid yourself of waste. There's so many things that movement plays a big part in, that to do it on a daily basis is absolutely essential. And I kind of take it back to basics. We were born to move. So as a baby, as an infant, you're crawling, you're rolling, you're doing all these things, and how flexible, if you think about how flexible infants are, people really don't think about it this way, how flexible infants are. That is how we're made to be. As we start to age, that flexibility tends to go away. And that's because we're not using it enough. So the flexibility we have as a newborn is something that we should be able to keep throughout our life, but you have to work at it. So it really does, people that are working all day behind their desk and then sitting in the couch at night because of, they're just tired or maybe depressed or whatever. It's just a host for so many problems. And if there's any disease process that you have are genetically inclined to, it's the disease process red light to cause havoc.
Right.
And so that's why we really got to get out there and move, even if it's, a short amount of time, 5 minutes a day, and then you can work on that. I work with people and I start with them from the beginning. If it's a simple walk, I take someone that has a lot of issues, has a lot of barriers, and we break down those walls brick by brick until they get excited about what they're doing with exercise. It's such a mood enhancer.
Mhm.
People don't realize that I have so many people that come to me in the session and they're in such a bad mood. And by the time they leave with endorphins that are flying through their body, they feel like they're on a high and they're in such a great mood. But you just have to get past that mental barrier of either not wanting to do it or not having time, whatever your barrier is. And I promise you will feel so much better.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the benefits of exercise are, they're so absolutely clearly identified in, even scientific studies, right? Bones
Right.
and cardiovascular system and nervous system really requires consistent movement on a daily basis. But I think it's important for people to understand that there's not necessarily just one specific kind of movement, right? It doesn't have to be all cardio exercise or weight training, or I think one of the barriers people have is this illusion that they need to have some kind of special equipment or clothing or a special place like a gym that they have to go to. But with your work, especially, in the virtual world, I mean, most people are in their living rooms and it's just them, right? So
Right.
choosing your own body weight can be a real advantage.
I would say the majority of people that I'm doing on virtual right now, we are just using body weight. I'll also find things in the house. Like the other day, I had someone who wanted to do some squats and wanted a little more weight. And we went and got the bread mixer out of the kitchen, which weighs a little bit. And she was holding the bread mixer doing her squats. So there's so many things around the house that you can use. But I give a fantastic workout. You can have a fantastic workout with absolutely no equipment and just using body weight. And this is something else that I wanted to touch on is some people, if it's a financial barrier, which we're breaking down those walls too, because it actually costs next to nothing to do a Zoom virtual session with Emergent Bee. What myself and our trainers are doing is really going in there and working with people and helping them understand an exercise program so they can do it on their own. So I don't train my people to be dependent, or my trainers don't train people to be dependent on them. We train them to be independent. So whether you have a trainer or not, you can do the exercises that you need to do to stay healthy and get a great workout. So it's really, that's one of the things that I believe in strongly, is that when we go out and work with clients is to make them independent, make them know and understand that they do not need a trainer, that they can do this on their own. If they would like a trainer because the accountability, because there's someone else there to work out with, that's great.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to be
how I use mine. I have a trainer that I work out with a couple times a week. But I do it for the accountability, right? If it's a busy week, like next week is the Thanksgiving holiday week, and so I'll be out of town and I won't be able to work out with him, I will do the workouts on my own. He has set me up to be completely independent. I absolutely can do everything he's ever taught me to do by myself, but I enjoy my time with him, and it keeps me accountable, right? To have something at a certain time. And I think that's important too. So I know that's a lot of what you do with your clients, is helping them to figure out how to structure a program for themselves that fits into whatever the version of their life is, right? Most of us have a very different version today than we did a handful of months ago. But helping your clients get build a structure that works for them in their situation, whatever that may be, right? So,
Yes. Yeah. So yeah, it's about getting creative and not falling into, what you see on TV or what people what you've always, like, people think you're going into a gym working with weight machines, working with weights. That's just that's a great workout, and I do a lot of that. That is not how it has to be. So they're just going out and walking, taking a couple water bottles, using those to do bicep curls, to do overhead presses. There's so many ways to do this without having to use equipment, and that is really what I'm focused on, is just getting people moving, getting people excited about it, building communities through the virtual. I'm really excited about that, is how I can, take a platform where I could have 20, 30 to 50 people on a Zoom class where everybody's doing it. And then I also started on Emergent Bee's Facebook page, a community where you can go in and the clients can work together and share their stories and motivate each other
nice.
outside of working with the trainers. And so it's a support group. And we all need that, especially right now with the pandemic,
Yeah.
is having other people that are going through a similar situation. And so that's what I really tried to create, is, a community, a bond of, let's do this together attitude.
Yeah. You're right, Michelle. I mean, it's so important with the isolation that most of us are facing at this point, and it looks like it's likely to go on for a little bit longer before we have any kind of a real solution. And it's clear. It's been clear always to me because I'm in health, and I know it's been clear to you for a long time because you've been focused in health and fitness. We have to move our bodies every day. But what has become crystal clear for me, really, probably in the last maybe handful of years, is that I would not be successful at doing that for myself if I didn't remove the barriers that I had around, I don't have enough time, I don't, I don't have the physical ability, or I'm not motivated, or that I need to have some kind of a special place to go, or clothing, or all of those limiting factors will sabotage your efforts to optimize health. So I think that's really the take home message here for people, is that you have to identify those barriers and work through them. And a company like, what I really appreciate about what you've done with Emergent Bee is that you can address, you can work with, you can basically just personalize exercise and movement for the individual, regardless of what's going on for them, whether they have a disease process, whether they have some kind of physical debility, whether they're in Southern California or in another state, whether they want to be in a virtual situation or they want to meet you at the park. I mean, you just have all of these options that really kind of take away those barriers. So I think all of you out there watching, or those of you that tune back in later and watch this as the recording, I would encourage you to really reach out to Michele and her company, even if it's you just have some questions or you want some clarification, but really start to think about how you can use the resources that we presented here to really get this particular pillar of your health foundation going for you. It's so critical now with what we're facing over the next several months, with needing to be on top of our immune health. And one of the biggest benefits of exercise is immune health. So I want to, thank Michele for joining us today and being, willing to kind of put it out there for all of us to have some insights into how she works with her clients. And, you can reach her at her website, which is Emerge and Be, Emerge, EMERGE, and ANDBE.com, Emerge and Be. Any other closing remarks, Michele? Anything you want to leave the audience with?
Well, yes. First, I want people, if there's anybody out there that's listening to this that feels like they have so many barriers that just can't be broken down, that there's just no way possible that they can even get 5 minutes in their life of exercise, please contact me and let me talk to you and help you understand help you break down those barriers. I'm in this to help people. I truly want to change people's lives. And there is no barrier too big that can't be broken down. You just may need to talk to somebody to figure out how to get around that barrier and to get creative. And that's what I'm here for. You don't have to sign up with Emergent Bee. I am glad to talk to you just to figure out how to get you moving in your life. And if you decide you want to sign on with Emergent Bee later on, that's great. But that's not what I'm all about. I'm all about helping people and breaking down the barriers to get fitness started in their life.
Great. That's excellent. So, for all of you watching, I would strongly encourage you to take her up on that offer and reach out and let her help you figure out how to get your movement pillar strengthened in your efforts to optimize your health. And I thank all of you for tuning in. Next week is Thanksgiving week. And so I'm going to go dark for a week. I was going to try to be live on Wednesday morning, but I think that's going to be difficult. And I'm pretty sure most of you are going to be busy with the holiday season. So I'm going to not have a program next Wednesday, and we'll resume the following Wednesday. And we will be moving into our fourth pillar, which is nutrition. So it'll be good timing because we'll have a lot probably to recover from after our Thanksgiving feast. So hopefully most of you will be enjoying that. So again, thank you so much, Michele. I really appreciate you being willing to join us today.
Absolutely.
And, I absolutely love the work that you're doing. So take
Thank
care,
you.
everyone, and we'll see you the Wednesday after Thanksgiving. Take care. Bye now.